What'd you miss? Lightning Labs could be a cryptocurrency game changer. The company's technology is said to deliver faster and cheaper payment handling than Bitcoin, Visa, and PayPal. Joe Weisenthal is standing by with the company's co-founder and CEO.
Thanks, Scarlett. I'm here with Elizabeth Stark of Lightning Labs. Elizabeth, thank you very much for joining us. So excited to have you here. A lot of people talk about how payments using Bitcoin aren't that good. Fees are high. Confirmation times are very slowly. Before we talk about how your technology is trying to address that, fundamentally, what's creating these conditions on the Bitcoin network?
Hey, Joe. Great to be here today. So you can think of the Bitcoin blockchain kind of like a road. And there are a lot of cars that want to get on the road. But it turns out right now there's a huge amount of congestion. There's a lot of traffic. The way that fees on Bitcoin work is you can pay for priority to go faster on the road. So right now there's a market of people trying to pay to get on the road. But we're in a traffic jam today. So luckily there are ways that the industry can actually implement technologies like segregated witness, which will remove some of the traffic on the road, or batching, which is basically like carpooling, and then as a result paying less in order to do so to get fees lower.
But the bottom line is that to some extent, the high confirmation times and the high fees are simply they're a function of popularity.
So these fees actually go to secure the network. Right. It ensures that miners get paid. And Bitcoin has kind of become one of these scenarios where it's too popular, nobody goes there anymore. In fact, it's actually really popular.
Okay, so your company, Lightning Labs, is working on a project, and other companies are working on it too, called Lightning, that would essentially allow for faster payments, but still using the Bitcoin blockchain. So explain what it does.
So Lightning is a software layer on top of Bitcoin that makes sending and receiving Bitcoin faster and far more efficient. So imagine if in order to send an email, you had to download and verify any email that anybody in the world had ever sent across a network of computers. What if you had to buy a coffee and then you had to download and verify every coffee purchase that anyone had ever made at any coffee shop? You'd never be able to buy a coffee or send an email, right? So what we do with Lightning is we've created this layer on top of Bitcoin that can relieve the congestion. In fact, we can get fewer cars on the road, and as a result, you can transact faster and far more
And just so
efficiently.
people understand the analogy of downloading every email that's ever existed, because Bitcoin is decentralized, all the different nodes have to agree on the entire history for it to work, because there's no centralized database. If we had to do that with email, it would be very difficult.
Exactly. Bitcoin operates on global consensus. It means that every node verifies every transaction on the network. So if we were to have billions of people using Bitcoin, if you had every transaction on every node, that would be super inefficient. Lightning creates a layer 2 where you don't have to broadcast every transaction. You don't have to send them all to the blockchain, but you can transact instantly, and you can have instant settlement.
Now, within the Bitcoin community, there's a philosophical debate about the best way to scale. So you're talking about working on a layer 2 solution in which we might set up a payment channel that settles on the blockchain. Others say, why not just widen the lanes for all these cars to go through, and then we could have our confirmation done right there on the blockchain and no need for all this additional software?
So one thing I love about the Bitcoin community is everyone is very passionate. They may not agree, but they're always passionate in doing so. If something like increasing the block size would be like adding additional lanes, Lightning would be like teleporting from one part of the highway to another, because you can do so instantly, and that's part of what makes it so powerful.
When is this technology? So it doesn't really exist yet, or it's like in sort of very early stages. People are always asking, okay, when is it going to come? When are we going to finally have a solution to these high fees? What is the roadmap for Lightning?
So we have a dedicated community of testers. We have almost 800 people right now in our community. They volunteer and they test our software. We've had our software out since January, so it's actually been quite a while. And we've had some really great applications that developers have built on Lightning, because now you can send instant and high volume transactions. You can actually send less than a cent on Lightning, which is a big deal.
So I know there's always this debate about, like, is Bitcoin efficient enough to buy a cup of coffee with? And you use the coffee analogy yourself, and if fees are $1 or $10 or $20, then clearly not. But the other thing is that buying coffee is pretty easy right now with a card, a credit card, or Venmo if we want to split the check. Why even use cryptocurrency at all to make such mundane small purchases?
Well, luckily, Lightning can also help with trading. For example, if you want to go between exchanges, it takes on average at least 30 minutes, if not longer. And with Lightning, you can have instant settlement between exchanges and for people that want to trade as well. And just last month, we demonstrated the first ever cross-blockchain swap on Lightning between Bitcoin and Litecoin, which meant you could trade currencies without having to use an exchange. This was a big deal.
Even if fees come down, everybody knows that story of the guy who spent like 10,000 Bitcoin 5 years ago
For pizza.
on a pizza, and I think that's like $199 million he now spent in retrospect on that pizza. Even if fees come down, is there an inclination to actually use cryptocurrency for payments rather than just hoard it and hope that the price goes up?
So the way that I envision Lightning is it can function as a checking account with instant settlement. So your Bitcoin on the blockchain can be like your savings account. You can transfer it to Lightning. You need one transaction on the blockchain. Then for your day-to-day trading or your day-to-day purchases, you use Lightning. Then you can withdraw it back to the blockchain.
And finally, of course, all this stuff is pretty difficult for most people to use. Simply buying Bitcoin is scary for people. They're worried about losing their private keys. There's a reason people are paying premiums for other ways to get in. Now they're going to have to do this whole other layer in addition to buying Bitcoin. They're going to have to learn how to do a Lightning wallet. How big of a challenge will that be to get people to adopt this?
Luckily, it's actually really simple. It's already integrated into certain wallets that we built. It's in the background, it's automated, so a user doesn't even have to know. And the really exciting thing is right now we've had a lot of industry support from exchanges. Coinbase, for example, has a developer that's contributing open source code to Lightning. So we've seen industry adoption and a lot of excitement around our tech.
All right, Elizabeth Stark of Lightning Labs, thank you so much for joining us. Fascinating, and we'll be out watching to see how it goes.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe.
Thanks so much, Joe. Great interview. Now, you're looking at live pictures of the house.